With the deadline, the filing deadline, just now a couple of days away, members of the group trying to legalize marijuana in Ohio say they're going to have about 700,000 petition signatures to get that question before voters.
And they only need a tad more than 300,000, but there's an effort in Columbus to block legalization even if the marijuana measure is approved. Local 12 News reporter Jeff Hirsch joins us with more on that. Jeff.
Well, Paula, the plan to legalize marijuana would change the Ohio Constitution by allowing 10 and only 10 marijuana farms / wholesale marijuana sellers in the state. But some state lawmakers are pushing a competing constitutional measure, which could possibly cancel out legal marijuana even if the voters want it. And so dueling amendments are now part of the debate.
By stopping legalization, you're inevitably helping drug dealers stay in business.
The group trying to legalize marijuana, called Responsible Ohio, has been collecting petition signatures and registering voters. But now there's another component to the debate. The pro-marijuana amendment allows only 10 marijuana farms. And it just so happens, and it's no coincidence, that the seed money, if you will, for Responsible Ohio comes from the same wealthy investors who would own the marijuana farms, a money-making monopoly enshrined in Ohio's Constitution. So the legislature is considering a competing amendment which would prohibit such private monopolies and submit that to the voters at the same time and see which one wins. Responsible Ohio says that's irresponsible.
The same group of folks had an ability to stop the casinos before, didn't do it. Had an ability to not allow all the racinos, didn't do it. In fact, they opened the door for that. Which exacerbated the problem with the casinos. You know, it's the old adage of when they can't beat us, they cheat us. When they can't win the argument, they change the rules.
The anti-monopoly amendment has passed the Ohio House and is now before the Senate. So if both constitutional measures end up on the November ballot, you would think whichever one gets the most votes wins. But according to Secretary of State Jon Husted, not necessarily. If both get more than 50% of the vote, the anti-monopoly measure would get more votes. If it did, that's it. Then it's over. But Husted says because of how the measures are worded, even if legal pot gets more votes, the anti-monopoly measure still prevails if both get over 50%. I know it's confusing, but that's the way he says it works out. Of course, they could both lose, or it could all end up in court. So, back to you. We'll see if they get those measures, let's say, get those signatures. But they say they're going to have more than enough signatures. But it'll be really interesting to see if those dueling amendments end up on the ballot.
Yeah, I think I followed all of that, and I think that the way it works out is because the anti would prevail because it would be a moot point at that point if they both won.
Well, boy, I don't know how to answer that in 15 seconds. Bottom line is this. If they are both on the ballot and the anti-monopoly one gets, let's say, 55%, and the marijuana one gets like 53%, then the anti-monopoly one wins, it's over. On the other hand, you flip it. If the marijuana one gets 55% and the anti-monopoly one gets 53%, because of the way they're worded, the Secretary of State says as long as the anti-monopoly one gets over 50%, even if it gets less than the pro-pot one, it still prevails.
Oh, even if less. Okay,
yep.
Now I've got you.
It's confusing.
It is. Thank you, Jeff. And marijuana would be taxed under the Responsible Ohio proposal. Backers say that could bring in $500 million a year for local governments. The measure would also allow Ohioans 21 and older to grow up to 4 pot plants at home for personal use.